What's up, Taiwan? I'm Eric Gao, bringing you the news from here in Taipei. France has wrapped up the first round of its legislative elections, and exit polls are pointing toward a historic win for the far right. The results are a blow to incumbent President Emmanuel Macron and come after a far-right win in EU elections last month. Joy Tseng has more on the situation in Paris.
Cheers from France's far right as the Anti-Immigrant National Rally Party, or RN, makes landmark gains to win the first round of parliamentary elections. Though stopping short of a majority, the party's leader, Jordan Bardella, doubled down on his pledge to aim for Parliament's top seat in the second round.
J'entends être un Premier ministre de cohabitation, respectueux de la Constitution et de la fonction du président de la République, mais intransigeant sur la politique que nous mettrons en œuvre au service de la France et au service des Français.
Saying the left has sent France into decline, RN supporters say this is a turning point for the country.
Il faut essayer le changement parce que on a essayé la droite, on a essayé la gauche, et là il faut faire un renouveau, il est grand temps.
À la faute des différents gouvernements, c'est pas que ce gouvernement-là. Tous les gouvernements précédents ont laissé tomber notre pays. Et maintenant, il est temps qu'on redresse notre pays, tout simplement. Et je crois au RN pour cela.
Exit polls on Sunday placed the RN in first, winning around 34% of the vote. Historic gains for the party. Newly established left-wing coalition, the New Popular Front, took 28%, while President Emmanuel Macron's Ensemble alliance came third with 20%. In a shock decision, Macron called the snap election last month after the RN beat his party in the European Parliament elections, saying he couldn't resign himself to the rise of far-right parties across the continent. With Macron's gamble possibly backfiring, protesters in Paris are calling to keep the RN from power.
Parce qu'il faut se battre, parce que je viens d'avoir un enfant il y a 3 mois et je n'ai pas du tout envie pour elle qu'elle vive dans ce monde, qu'elle vive dans un monde avec un gouvernement pareil, avec un gouvernement au pouvoir qui ne respecte ni les minorités, qui est intolérant, qui se prétend être un gouvernement qui va respecter tout, qui va respecter les valeurs de la République, et on n'y croit pas.
Leftist politicians are keeping hopes alive. With the second round of voting set for July 7th, Green Party leader Marine Tondelier says a victory for the left-wing coalition is still possible.
Un front contre le climato-scepticisme. Un front contre la haine, contre l'intolérance, contre la violence, contre la stigmatisation, contre la ségrégation.
Macron has also called for a broad alliance against the far right, as the RN will aim to win an absolute majority. If they do, it'd be the first time since World War II that a right-wing party takes power in France, and would also position the president and prime minister as rivals, a first for the country in 2 decades. Hao Zhang and Joyce Zhen for TaiwanPlus.
Celebrations are underway in Hong Kong as the city marks 27 years since its handover from the UK to China. Chief Executive John Lee lauded the newly implemented Article 23 security law, which enshrines a Beijing-imposed national security law into Hong Kong's own basic law. China joined in on the celebrations, announcing travel permits for Hong Kong's non-Chinese permanent residents to visit the mainland and a gift of 2 giant pandas for the city. Now, following the handover in 1997, Hong Kong was promised 50 years of political and economic autonomy under a one country, two systems framework. But the city looks markedly different this year, as an expanded national security law stifles opposition voices. To learn more about how Hong Kong has changed since the handover, Tiffany Wong spoke with Terrence Law, a Hong Kong activist living in exile here in Taiwan.
Can you describe what kind of activities would happen on the anniversary of the handover in Hong Kong?
Usually after the handover in 1997, we would got a rally, a demonstration on the Hong Kong island. Actually, after I'm 12 years old, my parents always took me into the rally every year. However, this kind of rally already disappeared because of the NSL and the highly oppression by the Hong Kong government. I would say after national security law and Article 23, local Hong Kongers already feel like they feel some kind of nostalgia, actually. Like their Hong Kong experience before the 2019 is already gone.
Now, you were born after the handover happened, so you've always been living under Chinese Hong Kong. Now, have you noticed any generational differences when you speak with older people?
The generation gap is bigger than all of us imagined. Usually, the elder generation, the elderly, usually they still believed in the one country, two system. But like the younger generation, especially our generations, or we call it a localist generation, we usually don't believe in the one country, two system anymore. I think all of us noticed that the promises given by the Chinese government are already broken. They originally promised us that the one country, two system can let Hong Kongers rule Hong Kong. However, we cannot elect our own president or legislator. And we have no more freedom of speech, freedom of rallies, etc. To the repression and the oppression, the whole civil society is already dead.
You said that Hong Kong civil society is dead. So does it exist anywhere else outside of Hong Kong?
Even though the original local civil society of Hong Kong is dead, but it's also alive in a subtle way. The political industry is dead. For sure, but the cultural industry is still alive and getting more and more and developing very well. It would become a very important base of future democratic movement of Hong Kong. And of course, exile or diaspora democratic movement is still going on, for example, myself as an example.
That was our reporter Tiffany Wong speaking with Hong Kong activist Terrence Law. South Korea says North Korea launched 2 short-range ballistic missiles early on Monday. The South Korean military says one of those missiles may have failed and blown up, crashing inland. It says the other missile landed in North Korean waters. It's the second such launch in 5 days. The test comes just 2 days after the end of trilateral military exercises between the U.S., South Korea, and Japan. President Lai Ching-te has praised 3 submariners killed in an accident last year, and he has offered his condolences to their families during a memorial on Sunday. A sudden wave swept the 3 from the deck on their submarine last December as they were trying to recover a rescue buoy that had become detached. The Navy did not issue any punishments over the accident, saying environmental factors and equipment failures were to blame. Taiwan's shrinking population means that many schools are struggling to stay open, but that's not the whole picture. As John Van Trieste reports, schools with good reputations are getting more applicants than they can handle.
Zhangxing Junior High School is in an unusual position. As other nearby schools see enrollment shrink, Zhangxing's prestige has parents competing to get their kids in. This year, it's had to turn away 168 students who would otherwise qualify. The Zhang siblings' parents are among those who'd pinned their hopes on the school, but the 2 children haven't gotten in. Their relatives say, unlike some families who move their family registry to a different school district to get kids into good schools, they are bona fide locals.
随便想应该都知道说很多人都是寄户的啊，但是我们是在地，就是出生就在住在这边的。
This year's entering class is definitely out of the ordinary. For one thing, it's bigger than normal. All these kids were born in the Year of the Dragon, a Chinese zodiac year thought to be good for having children. But also, Zhangxing's principal says their exam scores have been above average.
彰兴国中今年的会考成绩比往年都要更好。我们如果依照去年的录取标准，彰中、彰理，我们今年是破200个。
But since 2021, local officials have been trying to stop this type of crowding by spreading resources around so that children in more rural areas can get a decent education. They've restricted enrollments in 15 schools around Zhanghua County. Still, parents are determined to squeeze their kids into schools they think offer the best, leaving officials with the tricky task of keeping the rest of the local schools on an equal footing. Scott Huang and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
The mercury has hit 41 degrees Celsius in Taidong, the hottest temperature in the country so far this year. The mountainous eastern region is prone to hot winds that gust downhill into valleys during the summer. But other parts of Taiwan have also seen temperatures approaching 40 degrees. Now, the Central Weather Administration says this extreme heat may last through Saturday, but even then, much of the country can expect temperatures to stay in the mid-30s. Performance artists often use sound cues to keep pace in a work of drama or dance. But how do deaf performers do it? Reese Ayers spent a day with a hard of hearing performance troupe to find out.
Moving in time to a beat they can feel, but can't hear. This performance troupe is made up entirely of actors who are deaf or hard of hearing. Their passion for theatre has helped them overcome their inability to hear or communicate verbally. Though for most, including performance artists Yin Cheng Huang, the path to the stage was long and full of obstacles.
我就问说，可不可以让我试试看？可是听人的老师怎么样都会问我说，你听不到，你听不到音乐节奏怎么办？我跟他说没关系啊，我试着数节拍，我跟着我心里的节拍走就好了嘛。可是老师就说啊，你真的会遇到困难怎么样的？
The constant fight to prove himself almost became too much for Yin.
后来就真的觉得哇，听不到真的是有许多的困难呢，就是想要探寻各样的机会都不断的碰面。其实那时候其实是有一点点难过的，然后就觉得好像我们是聋人，我们就没办法跳舞。其实当时是有点放弃这件事，我就没有再表演了。
But Yin eventually got back on his feet and found a community of hard of hearing performers who had learned how to dance and act despite their disability. With varying degrees of hearing impairments, the performers use different techniques to keep in time with the music, including using light cues and by sensing vibrations through the ground. And using their bodies instead of their voices, they tell stories about the struggles they face living in a world designed for people who can hear.
我们一直在挖掘他们所谓的信任、沟通跟隔阂这件事情，然后以及他们在社会当中遇到的恐惧的障碍，如何去突破，这样，然后一一的在这个几个作品当中去呈现。
There are over 120,000 deaf or hard of hearing people in Taiwan, but few opportunities for them in the performing arts. A problem artistic director Wang Heng says hard of hearing people face from a young age.
因为在教育里面，他们接触艺术的，尤其是表演艺术，然后剧场，其实有一点少。那所以我们要怎么从零开始，然后一步一步带他们进到这个很专业的一个领域。
A lifetime in the wings left many hard of hearing performers feeling isolated and impacted their ability to form relationships with the hearing community.
因此，我们要一起共创一个表演的时候，他们没有办法有足够对我们一般人听人有一个信任感，然后这个信任感需要透过很多的 workshop， 以及田野调查，以及跟他们 talk 聊天，然后甚至还要私下的就是去做一些心理的咨询，他们才可能够渐渐的打开说，哦，原来你真的是关心我们的聋人文化。
Building that trust allowed for the creation of a collaborative, ever-evolving performance piece, combining elements of dance and drama that tells inspirational stories about overcoming adversity.
然后不管是你是盲人，或者是聋人，甚至是各样身心障碍的人，其实你应该要跨出去，去不断的接触，然后借由生活的感受，跟不同的人接触和交流。 使我们自己能够先被开阔视野，同时间也能够打开心胸，这样子我们就不会觉得好像都封闭在自己的世界里面。
This troupe plans to take their performances and workshops south to the rest of the country, giving more hard of hearing people the chance to see that a career in the performing arts is well within reach. Devon Tai and Reese Ayers in Taoyuan for TaiwanPlus.
Thanks for joining us here on What's Up Taiwan. Grab our mobile app to get more of our stories sent straight to you. Finally, check out scenes from pride parades in Paris and across Latin America. I'm Eric Gao. We'll see you next time.